this year?
Well, we had a lot of fun this year. I think people don't realize throughout the year, uh, you're focused on winning games and everybody where they're going to get seeded, what are they going to do in the NCAA tournament. You don't realize on the inside that probably the most fun I've had as a coach, the best chemistry of any team I've ever coached. So it's great to celebrate it tonight. It was first time in my life I've ever been depressed when a season ended. When our season ended, depression set in, not because of the loss, just because our season was over. And I realized it was because of the players, that we had such an unselfish group that loved playing together. And I never had to coach unselfishness or playing for each other. I never even talked about it one time all year. It was never an issue. I would say we probably led the country in unselfishness. So I realized how special that was, and that's why it was so hard to see it end. But it ends for everybody but one team in a tough way, so we're just going to celebrate it tonight.
Go on that a little bit more. You've been blessed over the years to have great leaders on your basketball team. How tough is it for you to ride with leaders like Kevin and Troy?
Well, Kevin and Troy, second and third in all-time wins in the history of the programs. That says it all right there. I don't know who said you play to win the game, but you don't win if you don't have great leaders. And there's different ways to lead, but I think setting the tone in the locker room that at UC we play to win. That stats don't matter here. That we care about winning basketball games, and those guys both embodied it. Troy with the assist, Kevin with the defense. And two of the best in the country at what they were specialists at.
Reports coming out that on Friday the AAC is going to vote on getting Wichita State. And what would that mean to have a team, that caliber program like that, to get in the AAC?
Well, I leave all that stuff to Mike Bone. Try to stay in my lane. We're focused on recruiting. But if we were to add anybody to our league that would enhance our basketball profile, I think it would be great for our league. So much I've had to eat so many things that have gone on for football reasons that it's nice that that's being talked about and people actually care about basketball that make those decisions. Because I know our fans care, our former players care, and our current players care. But it's tough to get the powers that be to make moves for basketball reasons. So that alone is in and of itself is exciting. Whether it's, like you said, Wichita State or whomever they may be talking about as far as enhancing the basketball in our conference, I'd be all for it.
Is there any one win that stands out for you last year, this year?
Not really. I guess, what I would say, the biggest thing that stands out for me is to go through a season with no issues internally. I don't know if that's ever happened for me as a coach, as far as who shoots the ball, who passes the ball, playing time or what have you. I don't think I've ever had that as a coach. I mean, absolutely, 100% zero issues. With that. In this day and age, that's almost impossible. I mean, it's almost impossible. This day and age, where, of individualism and branding and that has infiltrated team sports, to be able to coach a team that had absolutely no issues at all internally with who the star was that night or who shot the ball last. I would say, the play that embodied our season was Zach Tobler scoring the first basket against SMU. That people think I drew that play up. I constructed the play, but it wasn't, hey, we have to get Zach the ball. But our team was determined to get Zach the ball. The players did that. So that says everything right there. If there's if there's anything, it would be our final home game. Obviously in Fifth Third Arena. But I don't even know who we played. Was it Houston? But that night was a lot of history, a lot of nostalgia. But Zach getting that ball said more about his teammates than it did about Zach. We knew Zach would finish if we got him the ball.
You're getting a lot of, I don't know, you probably don't pay attention, maybe you do, to the next year's early preseason rankings. You're in the top 20 of a lot of them already. Can you just talk about why next year looks so bright? Just kind of preview that a little bit.
Well, I mean, I'm not a big stats guy, but I think we have our three leading scorers back. And then you got the 6-man and probably the best freshman in our league, and Jaron Cumberland back as well. So, you basically got 4 starters back from a team that went 16-2 in conference and won 30 games. You should be ranked. Where you're ranked is going to depend on what your flavor is. Some people with those rankings take time and delve into it. Other people just rank the same teams every year. So it would, my respect for that would be depend on who was putting the ranking out. But a lot of time to go in spring recruiting. Not for us. We don't have a lot of moves to make. But nowadays, so much can happen with kids going pro, the 5th-year transfer. Those top 25s could change a lot in the next 6 weeks because of spring recruiting. But it's always rather be ranked than not. That means you got some players back. So talent's the key to coaching.
What kind of impact do you think Kane Broom might make next year?
Well, I think 2 things. I think Justin Jennifer is going to continue to improve. And it was hard for him to get a lot of rhythm with playing with Troy. Second thing is Kane Broom is he's a difference maker as a player because he's such an elite escape artist with the ball that he changes our offense. He and Justin, because Troy was a big guard, and he was just he was set up to play, for lack of a better way of putting it, the New York Knicks of Mark Jackson in the 80s, where Kane and Justin are more of the modern era fast players. They never get tired. They can fly up and down. Kane he's a difference maker on the offensive end. He can break down a defense on his own. And he was just very, very different than Troy. But, Justin along with him, the guys are extremely fast. So Gary and Kyle in particular are going to have to get in a lot better shape.
How are you going to be defensively with the guards? Because obviously Kevin was a great defender.
Yeah.
And Troy, say big.
Yeah, I mean, Kevin played defensive point guard for us, unless Justin was in. So we'll be back to a more conventional way with your smaller guys on the front of your defense. I'd look for us to press more. I think our depth, Troy just wasn't a guy that was – pressing was the last – it was as much as I love to do it, it wasn't the right move with Troy. It just wasn't his thing with foot speed. So I think that with Justin and Kane, Keith Williams, Trevor Moore coming in, obviously with Jacob and Jaron, hopefully we'll be able to score even more, which will allow us to jump into full court press even more. Not that we're all out trying to steal the ball all the time. We like to implore different styles of pressure. But their quick, Kane and Justin's quickness will be put to use at the front of our defense in different ways.
Do you see selfishness that you had this year on the team that you spoke about? How imperative is it to roll that over to the new guys that are coming in, to embrace that message and just how effective everything was when you did have it?
Well, you'll hear coaches say this. You get, recruiting's important, scheduling's 1A, but your culture is why you'll survive as a coach. We've worked really hard. I got a great coaching staff, second in the nation in length of time together, cohesiveness, to build our culture, that what we stand for. So, and we recruit players with character that believe in that. So as long as you have that, and we do. So our chemistry next year will be just as good because Gary Clark and Kyle Washington will make sure of it. That's just once you have it set in motion, it's the hardest thing to build. It's the easiest thing to lose, but it's the most important thing to keep is your culture of winning and what you're all about as a program. got it.